chapter 137 to 138. As for Goku and the others below, they were in shock. Kakarot, what's going on now with that Goten boy? Why is there a silver light shining around his body? Is this also a Super Saiyan transformation? Why haven't we seen it before? Vegeta blinked his big eyes and asked in a tone of shock. They knew about many Saiyan transformations now, including the powerful Super Saiyan God form. However, they had never seen a transformation with silver flames around the body. At this moment, Goten's hair had turned silvery white. It was definitely a transformation they had never seen before. I don't know either, Vegeta. However, it is certain that Goten's current transformation is not weaker than our Super Saiyan God. From his body, I feel a powerful divine aura. Goku shook his head and explained. The divine aura in Goten's body was too strong. It was definitely not comparable to their Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. It was amazing that Goten from another timeline could have such a powerful transformation. The way Goten is now, it's called Ultra Instinct, Piccolo suddenly spoke, while Goku and Vegeta were extremely surprised and curious. With good hearing, he could catch conversations that others couldn't. No one else could hear Whis and Beerus, but Piccolo could. The hearing of Namekians was much stronger than that of humans and Saiyans. He had just heard Whis and Beerus discuss that the transformation Goten was performing was called Ultra Instinct. This was the first time he had heard of this name. Ultra Instinct? What's that? Never heard Whis mention it before. Goku and Vegeta were still puzzled after hearing the name. They had never heard Whis and Beerus mention it, but judging by the surprised expressions of the two, it seemed that this was not a Saiyan transformation, but a transformation of a god. Goten, this kid, is really incredible, Goku spoke. He had thought that after he and Vegeta mastered the power of Super Saiyan Blue, they were already too strong. But now it seemed that compared to Goten, there was no comparison at all. Damn bastard! Vegeta gritted his teeth angrily. Goku and his sons had all surpassed him. Although Gohan had not been training and was unable to fight, if he trained well, he could still surpass Vegeta. As for Goten, it seemed even the god of destruction may not be able to defeat him easily. Hey, did you know me and Whis in your timeline, brat? Your Ultra Instinct isn't easy to master. Did Whis teach you? Beerus asked immediately. It would be impossible to master Ultra Instinct without an angel's guidance. Goten was just a mortal. It was impossible for mortals to know Ultra Instinct, let alone master it completely. Among the 12 gods of destruction under angels' training, only Beerus had mastered entry-level Ultra Instinct. Well, Whis can be regarded as my teacher, Goten nodded. Although he mastered perfect Ultra Instinct by himself, Whis had mentored him, which helped him to some extent. Sure enough. Although I am very interested in you now and I have a lot of questions I want to ask you, it's not too late to ask these questions after I defeat you. Beerus smiled, the surprise on his face gone. Since Goten was Whis' apprentice, it was no surprise. Being able to comprehend Ultra Instinct meant his mind was very calm, and his talent and comprehension ability were strong. But even with perfect Ultra Instinct, it was impossible to defeat a god of destruction. I said you can't be my opponent. No matter how much time it takes to fight, you will lose in the end, Goten said confidently. Now, with perfect Ultra Instinct, he could beat Beerus in 0.001 seconds. Killing him would be a breeze. However, there was no need for that right now. He had no dislike for Beerus. Damn! Arrogant brat. If Ultra Instinct is your trump card, you'll soon realize how stupid your hubris is. Beerus gritted his teeth and rushed towards Goten again in the next second. He launched a stormy attack. In a short while, countless punches were thrown. Goten just moved his body lightly, dodging all of Beerus's attacks. Beerus, such speed and strength can't hurt me. Hurry up and use all your strength, Goten said with a bored face. The gap in strength was too big, making this fight quite boring. If he was facing another god of destruction instead of Beerus, he would have already killed them with one punch. Ha! Feeling insulted, Beerus made a sound, raising his kai again. The purple aura in his body burned like a flame. This time, he showed 100% of his strength, displaying his speed to the extreme. Whoosh, whoosh. Beerus's speed was extremely fast, turning into a purple beam of light and attacking Goten from different directions. But in the eyes of Goku and Vegeta, they could only see countless purple beams attacking Goten from all directions. Goten just stood still, easily avoiding all of Beerus's attacks. The speed and responsiveness of the two were not on the same level at all. In just a few minutes, Beerus had swung countless attacks, but the result was still the same. From beginning to end, Goten's body was never touched. This made Beerus extremely angry, and his stamina also dropped a lot. After all, fighting with all his strength consumed a lot of energy. Realizing his attacks could not hit Goten at all, Beerus stopped his attack. Continuing like this would only consume his energy quickly. When the time came, he would lose without a proper fight. The only way to defeat Goten was to taunt him into stopping Ultra Instinct and having a real battle. Hey, Brat, what kind of battle is it if you use Ultra Instinct to keep dodging like this? If this continues, we can't tell the winner. If you're really confident, then don't use Ultra Instinct and have a hearty battle with me. I will definitely knock you down in an instant. Beerus clenched his fists and began to taunt him. Although this approach detracted from his revered status as god of destruction, he had no choice. Goten was already very fast. But after performing Ultra Instinct, he was like a slippery loach. No matter how tricky the attack, Goten could easily dodge it. Okay. Anyway, I've lost interest in this battle. Let's end it as soon as possible. But after I show my strength, you better not be so frightened that you lose your fighting spirit. Goten smiled. This battle was so boring that it wasn't even a warm-up, so he decided to end it quickly. It didn't seem right to keep teasing Beerus like this. Hey! What an arrogant fellow. If you don't use Ultra Instinct, if you don't use your speed to dodge, it would be you who loses the fight, Beerus sneered. He foresaw Goten on the ground soon enough. Goten didn't refute. Instead, he exited Ultra Instinct mode directly. In the next second, he clenched his fists suddenly. Ha! A deep roar erupted from his throat. In the next second, an overwhelming purple flame burst from his body. Boom, boom! The entire planet shook violently, and the sky was completely enveloped by purple flames. This purple aura was clearly the aura of a god of destruction. The powerful purple aura continuously slapped the air, causing a rustling sound. Goku and the others below immediately raised their arms to block the powerful wave. Feeling this ki, Beerus was completely dumbfounded. Even Whis, usually calm, had a deep shock on his face, staring at Goten with burning eyes. The divine ki of a god of destruction was too familiar to them. No, impossible, absolutely impossible, are you kidding me? This guy is just a mortal. How could the divine ki of a god of destruction erupt from his body? Beerus took a few steps back, completely dumbfounded. Goten not only burst out the divine ki of a god of destruction, but this ki was too strong. It felt like an unfathomable abyss. Staring at it made one feel fear from the depths of their soul. This powerful god of destruction aura was definitely not comparable to Beerus. It's really surprising. He's obviously just a Saiyan. How could he burst out the aura of a god of destruction? Could it be that in another timeline, Goten became a candidate for god of destruction? If that's the case, it can be explained, Whis said in astonishment. But even as a candidate for god of destruction, wasn't this aura too strong? It completely surpassed all 12 universe gods of destruction. Even Beerus and Quitella were not at the same level as Goten at the moment. It was not an exaggeration to say that this energy had completely surpassed all their angels. Whis, how is this possible? How can this guy have such a huge god of destruction aura? Beerus blinked his cat's eyes and asked in disbelief. I don't know either, Lord Beerus. Maybe Goten is a candidate for god of destruction in the timeline of his 7th universe. However, this powerful divine aura is really incomprehensible. There is no doubt that you cannot be Goten's opponent. Even if I am in front of him, there is probably a big gap, Whis replied seriously. After hearing this, Piccolo's face turned greener with fright. Although they already thought Goten was too strong, they never imagined he could match Beerus. In their minds, Beerus was the most powerful existence, impossible to surpass. But now, from Whis and Beerus's conversation, it was clear that Goten could not only defeat the god of destruction, but even Whis, the master of god of destruction, was no match for him. This was simply too shocking. Damn it! I am the real god of destruction! Would I be intimidated by this brat? What a joke! I have been god of destruction for hundreds of millions of years, and such absurd things have never happened before, Beerus said, finding it difficult to accept this reality. After all, he never thought such nonsense would happen. For the majestic god of destruction to be so frightened by a mortal being was unthinkable. At this moment, Goten's appearance changed again. The silver-white hair turned completely purple, and his pupils also turned purple. His eyebrows disappeared, and his eyebrow bones raised high. His entire body emitted a powerful energy that could destroy the world. This energy was very similar to God of Destruction's destruction energy. Are you kidding me? Isn't this similar to the divine Kai of Lord Beerus? Vegeta was completely dumbfounded. The silver-haired form made all of Beerus's attacks useless, and now Goten was in a purple-haired form. This was clearly not a Saiyan transformation either, because of that powerful divine aura, which was very similar to Beerus's Kai. Goten, is he a god of destruction from another timeline? Goku whispered to himself. Otherwise, how could there be such a divine aura similar to Beerus in his body? I don't know how strong Goten is now, but just now, I heard Whis and Beerus say that the current Goten is already stronger than Whis. Obviously, Beerus has no chance of winning this battle, Piccolo explained to Goku and Vegeta. They needed to understand the real-time situation, but this completely dumbfounded Goku and Vegeta. They knew the power of Whis better than anyone else, as he was a powerful existence that could make Beerus lose his fighting ability in an instant. Shocked? It's not over yet. Enjoy it, Beerus, Goten said with a slight smile. The purple ki aura around his body began to transform into silver ki aura, little by little. Is it Ultra Instinct? Is this a combination of God of Destruction State and Ultra Instinct? OMG! How is this done? Whis was the most shocked of all, seeing the silver gas flames around Goten's body. He knew God of Destruction State and Ultra Instinct best. The state of God of Destruction was very violent, while Ultra Instinct pursued a complete balance of mentality. These two divine skills were absolutely impossible to fuse completely. Not even the Grand Priest could do it. As for the other gods of destruction and angels, that was even more impossible. But Goten, in front of him, appeared to have perfectly fused the perfect Ultra Instinct and God of Destruction state without any trace of disharmony. Perfect Ultra Instinct and perfect Ultra Ego and their perfect fusion. I call it perfection. Beerus, let's fight. Next, I will definitely not avoid the confrontation, Goten declared. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Although some of them couldn't feel Goten's current ki, the overwhelming sense of oppression was suffocating. That feeling was stronger than that of Beerus. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible. Even if this kid is a candidate for God of Destruction from another time and space, it's impossible for him to be so powerful. He actually combined the God of Destruction state with perfect Ultra Instinct. Beerus shook his head in disbelief. This was something that had never happened in hundreds of millions of years. No angel or god of destruction, including the Grand Priest, had ever fully fused these two divine skills. But a mere mortal, a Saiyan who had always been looked down upon by the gods, was able to perfectly fuse these two godly skills. This was truly unbelievable. But after the initial shock, Beerus slowly adjusted his mentality. Then he said, "You really make me feel incredible. You have done things that all the gods can't do. I have to say that your talent is ridiculously strong, far stronger than your father and Vegeta. But next, let me see how powerful you are after fusing these two divine skills." After Beerus finished speaking, purple flames surged around his body again. This time, he used all the strength in his body, but he didn't have the confidence he had before. The overwhelming sense of oppression was absolutely not deceiving. This guy's divine power was far above his own. With that, Beerus rushed directly towards Goten, purple flames filling his fist. In an instant, he was in front of Goten and punched out with a heavy blow. But such an attack would have no effect on Goten. It was not a threat at all. There was no need to dodge. Boom! Beerus's fist hit Goten's chest hard, but Goten's body was as solid as a rock, and it didn't move him. Obviously, with his current strength, even if he stood there and let Beerus fight, it would definitely have no effect. "No, impossible. I hit with all my strength and this guy didn't even move," Beerus muttered in extreme shock. He shook his fist and continued attacking Goten, but the ending was still the same. No matter how he attacked, it had no effect. "Okay, Beerus. The end result is very clear. Even if you use all your strength, you won't be able to cause any harm to me." After Beerus threw thousands of punches in a row, Goten finally got impatient. This kind of fist felt like being bitten by a mosquito, and it didn't hurt at all. After saying that, Goten grabbed the fist that Beerus had just thrown out and then delivered a straight punch to Beerus's stomach. Boom! Pfft! Beerus spewed a mouthful of blood, his whole body bending like a prawn. The painful expression on his face and the purple ki aura around his body faded instantly. Beerus had lost the ability to fight, even though Goten had just punched him lightly. After easily defeating Beerus, Goten's body flashed, and he returned directly to the ground. Everyone blinked, looking at Goten in disbelief. Unexpectedly, in an instant, Beerus lost the ability to fight with just a light punch. Even if they had felt the power of Goten before, this was too unbelievable. They knew Beerus was the most powerful existence in their universe. No one ever thought he could be beaten. Are you really Goten?" Goku stared at Goten in disbelief and asked. He never thought that Goten would have such powerful strength. Although Goten could become a Super Saiyan at a very young age, compared to talent, Goten's talent was far inferior to Gohan's. "Of course I am the real Goten," Goten replied with a nod. Everyone's surprise was within his expectations. After all, in their cognition, the most powerful one was Beerus, and he defeated Beerus in public, and he did it easily. So, it was reasonable for them to be so surprised. "You! How on earth did you train? How did you become so powerful? And the transformations you performed just now are not Saiyan transformations at all. In other words, you should have stronger strength, right?" Vegeta leaned over, his astonishment mirroring everyone else's. After all, Goten did not use any Super Saiyan transformations in the battles just now, implying he might have an even more powerful form, one that absolutely surpassed Super Saiyan Blue. "Well, I do have stronger abilities. As for how I trained, it's a long story." Goten didn't hide anything, replying directly with a nod. Everyone chatted with each other again, marveling at his incredible power. At this moment, Whis had helped Beerus recover from his injury. Beerus then flashed and appeared in front of Goten, his expression quite serious. To be defeated easily by a mortal was a very difficult and humiliating thing for him to accept. However, he also admitted that Goten's strength had indeed far surpassed his own. This defeat was convincing. "What? Beerus, do you want to fight again?" Seeing Beerus's solemn expression, Goten asked jokingly. "Heh, I admit, I really can't beat you, but I have a lot of questions I want to ask you." Beerus curled his lips and said. It was a fact that he couldn't beat Goten, although it was a tough pill to swallow. After all, he had been a god of destruction for such a long time and had never been defeated by a mortal. "What's the matter? Ask." Goten nodded. In another timeline, Beerus was also his good friend. Naturally, he didn't have a bad impression of Beerus in this timeline. In your future timeline, are you a candidate for our 7th universe god of destruction? Beerus asked curiously. If this guy was a candidate for the 7th universe god of destruction, then it seemed reasonable for him to have mastered the 2 divine skills of Ultra Instinct and the God of Destruction state. Learning these 2 divine skills could only mean he was very talented. No, although in another timeline Whis had such ideas, I had no interest in the position of the God of Destruction candidate. Goten shook his head. Even now, he had little interest in becoming a God of Destruction. Especially when he thought of what the Grand Priest did before, he became even more disgusted. Obviously, his son Murno provoked the previous incidents, but he was the one who was punished in the end. Then, what happened to me in the other timeline? Beerus asked curiously again. Sorry, you from my timeline sacrificed yourself to save me. Goten continued to speak. For this matter, he still felt very guilty. He would definitely bring Beerus and Shin back to life if given the chance. But that timeline, he still couldn't go back. Because the Grand Priest possessed strength far beyond him, it would be very dangerous to go back. And Zeno hadn't made a move yet. If that guy made a move, he probably wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Zeno's erasure was a force of laws, and before mastering the power of laws, at least on par with Zeno, facing him was tantamount to courting death. What? What are you talking about? You said that I died to save you in your timeline. Are you kidding? This is absolutely impossible. As a god of destruction, how could I sacrifice myself to save a mortal? Beerus's face changed drastically, and he didn't believe what Goten said. In his heart, he would never sacrifice himself to save a mortal. No matter how important a mortal was, it was impossible to enjoy this kind of treatment. I'm not kidding. We have a good relationship in my timeline. Whether you believe it or not, it's true, Goten replied seriously.